good luck to anyone that has to fight Navarrete, because that dude is.
Hey, shout out to the guy last night. Diaz had heart, man.
Great.
He came to fight.
He fought great.
Came to fight.
We talk about awkward and
he was long.
He's the one knockdown he had. He throws a feint, but he literally did like a leaping feint with his right hand, and then dug a uppercut with his left hand and dropped him.
Yeah,
and I'm just like, I don't know how, because sparring, and Shawn, kind of, you can elaborate on how sparring goes, but you want somebody not that's going to imitate the fighter, but that's going to pose some similarities in their style. Mm-hmm. How do you have somebody prepared like that?
Yeah.
That's going to throw those leading uppercuts, and he like moves real weird. He kind of feints with his whole body. He is a hell of a fighter.
And he reminded me of my brother last night. Anybody who has ever seen my brother fight, my brother is 6 foot tall, long, fast. Growing up, his fighter was Roy Jones, and so he always, he had that kind of speed and that kind of quickness. Kenny would, especially in sparring, but even in fights, he could start throwing one punch and then change it into another punch. And so I really thought my brother was special because he could do that. And I've never say never, but I don't think I've seen any other fighter other than my brother start throwing one punch and then change it into a completely different punch. And now you got your guy all out of position, reaching for one punch, and another punch is coming. So when I saw that last night, first thing that clicked in my head was my brother. And I was like, of course, all right, that dude's special, but for the first knockout was the hook, right? Then he comes back and was almost like he was feigning with the leaping left hook, and it was an uppercut instead. That was sexy. And then the next time I think he wanted to throw the right hand, and even if he didn't, he feinted it and then came with the left. And I was like, whoa, this dude is different. You know what I mean?
How much do you think, going back to that where you can change the punches, how much is that him reacting in the ring, and how much is that preparation?
I think most of it is him reacting. I think the preparation is him knowing that that's something that he can do. Mm-hmm. I think preparation and like the feint with the right hand and then coming with the left, I think that was preparation. I don't think that's really muscle memory and him reacting. I think that one was on purpose. But I know when he went to go with the leaping left hook and then said, no, let's go with the uppercut instead, that was muscle memory right there. And I just thought that one was sexy.
Yeah. He is.
He's a problem at 126.
Yeah,
a humongous problem at 126.
I would love, to play matchmaker. I would love to see him fight Leo Santa Cruz at 126.
Oh wow!
Because even though Leo, had a belt at 130, he really said he might be more comfortable fighting at 26.
Great fight.
That's a really good fight.
That's a great fight.
I think now where Leo's at in his career, I think Navarrete has too much for him. And I think his power might be a little much for him, but
Navarrete looks very strong.
That is going to be a fight that's going to be all action.
And I hate to tell on him, but I do know that he loses quite a bit of weight to get to 26, and he does it in some way that he can come back to the ring very strong, and it's kind of scary.
Snitch.
He's also right, Shawn, though, isn't he a super relaxed fighter and a loose fighter? Isn't that part of why his punches come out that way? I mean, like Diaz fought as great a fight, one of the best fights I've ever seen, most spirited fights I've ever seen from a guy who on the cards got blown out.
Yeah.
Or stopped, he fought a great fight. But
I could be wrong, but I think that Navarrete's length and I think 72-inch wingspan is what he has at 126. I think that gives him the flexibility that he doesn't have with being an athlete. I think he makes up for it with his length and his reach and knowing how to use it. Look to me last night. I know a lot of Mexican fighters, they want to get up on their guys and really rough them up and break them down and kind of beat them down. And I think that while he wants to do that, I think that he finds success from the outside coming in. And I find that very impressive as well.
I just don't know how the timing, because boxing is obviously such importance on timing, and just trying to time him and the weird punches he throws and his movements are weird. I feel like that would be difficult. The one match that was mentioned and kind of been mentioned before would be him versus Shakur Stevenson.
I thought about that. Was the one I thought about.
Yeah. How do you like that one going down?
Then after that, I got one for you.
I like that fight. I like him against anybody at 126. I think it a little fairer for him, if that's even a word.
Yeah.
At 130, I think the fights are a little more fair for him and whoever he's in the ring with at 130, especially the champions at 130. But I think as long as he's at 126, nobody's going to beat him.
What do you think about your mystery guy, Gary Russell Jr.?
Oh man.
That was another one I actually saw mentioned yesterday.
I think that'd be a good
Speed kills. Speed kills.
Think he gets him? Gary gets him?
Yeah, and Gary is really smart in the ring. Speed kills. Gary's smart. He's methodical, and I think that it's gotten in the way of his career. I think that it's gotten him where he's at right now, which I think is, I think that's kind of I'm contradicting myself, but I think that even though he has not, I guess for the sake of words, had the career that we would want him to have, I think that his methodical approach to the game and what I'm going to do and how I'm going to do it has gotten him where he's at. He's still a champion. But I think that will work to his advantage in the fight with Navarrete. Somebody, you got to be able to think, you got to be very aware and recognize what's coming. And then you got to have some speed to offset his length as well, which is clear that Gary has. And I think that Gary's got more power than most people know too. And I think that that's a very good fight at 126. I think that's a really exciting fight at 126.
Yo, for sure. It's funny to think about if somebody was just getting into boxing like in the last 2-3 years. They're gonna think Gary Russell's like a mythical figure, like he doesn't actually exist. Because you'll hear Gary Russell mentioned, people are gonna be like, "Man, is he Bigfoot?" Like,
yeah, right.
You never see him. It's just like Gary Russell, and they're like, the mythical Gary Russell.
I just feel like if I bring him on here, he's gonna cuss me out. So
probably, which would be nice for
talking. Yeah,
that'd be a good time. But I think that's a really good fight. I don't think Navarrete is going to have a fight that you're like, this is boring, just based on his style and his activity. And then you throw him in there with a guy like Stevenson, who's really good defensively, obviously a really technically sound boxer.
Yeah. And what is he, 5'10"? Navarrete?
Actually only like 5'7", 5'8". He looks taller than that. He really looks taller than that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he can really throw, and it's so funny just watching him because I'm like, you just don't see a lot of what he was doing, and it's cool to you get to see different variations.
His length could propose a problem for Shakir's counter punching ability.
Yeah,
Shakir is one of the best counter punchers I've ever seen. I think I feel like I've been using that word ever and never, but I got a feeling that he's one of the best that I've ever seen. Shakir in terms of counter punching, and he's got a rhythm with his counter punching, and I got a feeling that Navarrete could offset that rhythm,
length and timing,
and at least for some time. That would be an interesting fight. I think
that would be a huge win for Shakir, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Actually, that's a huge win if you get that win.
Yeah.
Actually, at Burchelt Valdez, back in February, I talked to Shakur there, and he said he brought that up. He's like, Navarrete, man, that dude's no joke. That's a tough fight. He seemed to even think at the time that would be a tougher fight than maybe even Burchelt or Valdez. I
believe it.
Yeah.
I believe it. We all, if a fighter is competitive and understand and comfortable with who they are, we'll talk. We'll say, hey, that's a good fighter and that's a good fight for me. Meanwhile, we know what styles work against us, what styles benefit us, what a guy does that could propose problems for us and things like that. So, he's a competitor, and this dude wants a Hall of Fame career. Yeah. And I think he's wanted that from day one. And I think with that being said, I think a lot like when I fought Keith Thurman, I was like, yo, whenever the fight happens, it's going to happen. I don't care. Whenever it happens, it happens. And when it did, it did. I got a feeling that, Shakur is like that about a lot of different fighters. I think that, he's like, hey, I know what I want, but whenever it's time for that right there, it's going to be that time.
That's like Ant says, dare to be great. I think Shakur from obviously a very young age, I think he's like, hey, when these big fights happen, whether it's my choosing or their choosing, I'm going to go in there and rock it out.
Don't tell me you didn't enjoy what you saw, because I know you did. What you need to do now, hit that subscribe button, hit the like, hit that notification button. Check us out every week, every Tuesday, something new for you right here
on the Porter Way podcast.